harmonsolar.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hi, guys. Jeffrey O'Brien here. Have you ever gone to harmonsolar.com? Well, you really need to, because everything you ever wanted to know about how solar power can save you big on your monthly electric bill is right there. It's online. Through your phone or through your computer, you can learn about tax credits, the equipment they use, look at how they do things for businesses as well as homeowners, see testimonials from happy customers, and I hear they got a pretty good podcast, too. Check it out. Go to harmonsolar.com. That's harmonsolar.com.
My pain is considerable, but that prescription is dangerous.
The side effects of my medicine are worse than my condition.
I'm in recovery. I can't take those pills.
When faced with a health crisis, you shouldn't have to choose between risks.
At the Naturopathic Physicians Group in Scottsdale, our medical doctors are experts in full spectrum care using a natural approach. Patients come in for a variety of issues, including joint pain, chronic conditions, and issues specific to men's and women's health. Our naturopathic doctors can restore pain-free joint function and restore balance in immune, digestive, and hormone systems, which often improves immediate physical symptoms without having you take a bunch of pills. If traditional medicines aren't working, don't you think it's time to start feeling like yourself again? Call Naturopathic Physicians Group at 480-451-6161. That's 480-451-6161. Or go to naturopathicgroup.com. In most countries of the world, Porte means door. United Porte Custom Doors, located in the Scottsdale Airport Design District, is now open with over 40,000 European doors, all in stock, ready for delivery, and at wholesale prices. Designers, contractors, builders, and yes, you. Come see our showroom on Greenway Hayden Loop. That's United Porte, Porte. Stop by to see and feel the quality at United Porte Custom Doors. Find us at uporte.com. That's uporte.com.
KQFN Tempe. Also transmitting on K257CD Phoenix at 99.3 FM and K240 EU Mountain Hills at 95.9 FM. Wherever you go, take us along. Listen to our live stream on our free Fanatic app. Download it today.
And welcome back to Beat the Book. It is a Wednesday. We are sandwiched between an awful lot of basketball, and we've got Thursday night football coming up tomorrow, so we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Today, I'm Keon Rose, and alongside me is our betting expert, Dylan Cohen. We are broadcasting live from the Harmon Solar Studios in sunny uptown Scottsdale. Today on the show, well, we're going to talk about a lot of that basketball that I mentioned earlier. We had a bunch of NBA Cup games last night, some very fascinating results, big-time performances, and we'll start with the Phoenix Suns. And then, of course, the Suns are back in action tonight, second night of the back-to-back. What are their chances of winning, and who's going to step up, and how can you make some money from that? We'll get to that as well. We also have a nice little update for Sport Trade and the prizes that are being given out. We'll talk about that as well. You're on the text line, 888-368-1580. How did you do last night when you made some of your bets? Did you win some money? Did you lose some money? There have been some pretty crazy parlays. There have been some pretty crazy bets that you guys have sent us, and we always love to hear that stuff. So go ahead and let us know, 888-368-1580. But before we get to any and all of those things, Dylan, who powers the show?
We are powered by Sport Trade, and if you have not already, go ahead and search Sport Trade on your smartphone, download the app, get your account set up, use promo code 1580 to take advantage of their 10% cashback promotion on new account signups. And Sir Drives a Lot and NFL Blitzer, those were our two texters that both had the winning submission on the Sport Trade implied probability contest from that Cardinals game this past Sunday. Guys, Sport Trade has sent you both emails, and we just need to have each of you respond to Sport Trade. And you're going to want to make sure to do this because Wednesdays are when I have my meetings with Sport Trade, and we get to figure things out and plan for what's to come. And they very generously decided in this meeting today that each of you will end up just getting a full prize instead of splitting one. So NFL Blitzer, Sir Drives a Lot, you are each going to receive a $100 Amazon gift card and $50 in cash sent to your Sport Trade account. If you guys have not set up a Sport Trade account yet, you still have the opportunity to create one, so that way you can receive that extra part of the prize. So I would definitely encourage you both to get those accounts going, reply to those emails from Sport Trade. Let us know if you're having any issues with the communication part of that. And, if you're listening to this, if you're curious about this prize that I'm speaking about, and if you would like to win one yourself, well, guess what? This coming Friday, Alex Kane, the CEO of Sport Trade, will be back on Beat the Book to talk about how the contest is going to work for this week. Up until this week, we've been doing the contest on Arizona Cardinals games, and you have to guess what their win probability percentage is going to be at halftime of their game. Well, the Cardinals have a bye week this week, so we can't do it for the Cardinals, but we have a solution planned. So still plan on tuning in this coming Friday. You're going to hear about how the contest is going to change a little bit for this week. The rules are going to stay the same. You're still working with an NFL football game, so not a whole lot is changing besides the two teams that are going to be participating. That's it. So with that being said, there's also this really intriguing novelty boxing match that's happening this coming Friday. And, I know it pains Keon to talk about it.
It hurts my heart.
I can just see it on your face right now. We won't, go too deep into analysis or anything like that.
What analysis? It's a YouTube guy fighting a 60-year-old. Granted, it's the 60-year-old.
There's still a conversation to be had about, what each fighter brings to the ring and what are the, chances of either of them to come out on top. And my whole point of this is that we're going to have the head of a sports book with us on the program on Friday.
That I am curious.
Where we can get insights from him. We're going to be able to talk about actual wagers that Sport Trade has taken up until that time on that day. That's when most of the action is going to come in on Paul and Tyson. It's going to be the day of. It's going to be all those people that are like, oh crap, that's today. Oh yeah, I heard about that a long time ago. My interest is there all of a sudden. And, I said it on yesterday's show, like, this is just one of those things where, I'm not working with high stakes on my bets for this. It's a novelty fight. It could be scripted for all we know. I just know that I'm going to get serious entertainment out of watching Mike Tyson win. And it's going to boost that entertainment for me if I can just sprinkle little extra money on it.
That is the only entertainment value that I think I could get, is if Mike Tyson actually does knock Jake Paul's head off of his shoulders. And I do mean that literally. I don't mean that in the figurative sense. I mean that his head should just be rolling down an aisle somewhere. Because I can't stand the man. He's a boxing vulture, and I hate him.
Monty Python style.
Exactly. But a flesh wound. I mean, that's what I want to see. He doesn't have to do the British accent, but that's what I want to hear from him.
So I cannot wait to have that conversation with Alex on Friday. So be sure to plan accordingly for that. And, yesterday we had the first night of NBA Cup group play games. And I mean, we'll get into the actual games in a second, but we were speaking about how the NBA Cup games work, all the extra things that the NBA puts into these. And, one of the things that they do is they have the updated uniforms for the home team, and then the home team's court gets some kind of a unique design. And it was controversial last year. It was the first year they were doing it. The color schemes they were using were not really just attractive for the TV audience, really vibrant, kind of extreme colors that
and some of the ones last night were too.
So some of them were, but I want to shout the NBA out at least for some marginal improvement.
I would say far less of them were hard to look at than last year. Last year, it was like every court was just blinding.
Right.
Where last night, I think the worst one that really, I wouldn't say it bothered me, but the one that was kind of the hardest to watch was oh God, it was one of the teams that was
I don't blue. Like. Okay, I was literally just about to say that. I don't like these dark blue courts.
Yeah,
I know the Pelicans I think are doing it. The Thunder are doing it. We looked at a number of the designs
it was
yesterday.
The Thunder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I'm glad you and I are on the same page, because I was a little concerned about the gray color schemes coming in. And last night, Suns play in Utah. Utah is one of those teams that has like the gray color scheme
Looked
on
fine.
the court. Looked totally fine.
Didn't bother me at all.
Portland's court, they played the Timberwolves yesterday, and they did this weird thing where it was like a heavily gray court, but then it's got these kind of accents of like rose petals in it. It actually looked really, really good. Was totally impressed. So there's definitely some improvement in the aesthetic of the NBA Cup group play. So that's a thumbs up there for Adam Silver and the NBA. But let's actually talk about the specific game itself. We'll start with our Phoenix Suns. This was a game that, we felt pretty good about going into it yesterday. The Suns were a fairly big favorite on the money line. They were priced at, around minus 200, depending on the book that you were shopping with. Roughly a 3.5 point favorite when that line opened up. I believe it closed around 5.5 points. Suns ended up covering the 5.5 point spread. They won 120 to 112. And this was a game where they really took control early on, and then they just really never managed to let up. So it felt, for the most part, pretty easy. Besides, maybe a moment in the fourth quarter where things started to get down to like a 3-possession game, a 2-possession game, but it never really got any closer than that.
No.
We were able to keep some distance.
It didn't feel like at any point in that game the Jazz had a real opportunity to win it. I was impressed with John Collins, though. I mean, I thought he played really well. I may or may not have had a, Lauri Markkanen bet go over 20. And he's at 17. And I just needed 3 points from Lauri Markkanen. Couldn't get it, but that's okay. Just sometimes that stuff happens. But I thought the Suns handled their business. They played well. They came out strong. And Devin Booker was able to pick up the slack in a way that he maybe didn't seem as prepared to do the first day that they didn't have Kevin Durant. Now they're, they've readjusted. This is what the roles of the team are. And now Devin Booker is the guy. So I'm imagining that Devin Booker is someone you can look at to take over, 25 points, in a game around that point. I think you can pretty much rely on him to do that if Durant's not going to be out there.
Well, case in point for Devin Booker, he had 20 field goal attempts last night. And I would absolutely feel comfortable in assuming that, on any given night without Kevin Durant, he's going to get somewhere in the neighborhood of, 15 to 20 shots up. It could be more than 20 shots. It really just depends on, is he making them early on? Because that's the thing with Devin Booker, is he can be pretty streaky. So if he's starting out a game and he's making those first couple of shots, you already kind of know what sort of a night, you're in for with Devin Booker, and, things are looking pretty good. But, if it's a game where things aren't falling at first and, he's really got to stay persistent and kind of work at it to get the points racked up, then sometimes they aren't coming as easily to him, and he might choose to defer and be more of a facilitator. But last night, the shots were falling, particularly from 3-point range. This is something that we keep coming back to on this show, but this is exactly why Mike Budenholzer's style of play is elevating this team. This is why you're seeing a difference between, the 9-2 opening record right now of the Suns compared to, where we were after the first 11 games last season. I don't know what the exact record was, but I know it wasn't 9-2. And when you look at how many 3-pointers we shot last night as a team, we shot 39, we made 18, 46% as a team from 3. When you're shooting this volume of 3-point shots and you're making them at this high of a clip, it almost doesn't even matter who your opponent is. You're going to make things very difficult for any team to try and overcome you and ultimately beat you. And you start looking around, the box score just for the other guys, not the Devin Bookers or the Bradley Beals, even though Booker and Beal combined for 9 3-pointers. I'm looking at Ryan Dunn, who shot 2 for 2 from 3. I'm looking at Grayson Allen, who shot 4 of 9 from 3. Royce O'Neal contributes a couple of 3-pointers of his own. Tyus Jones knocked down a 3. We have shooters on this team. It's not just one guy. And this is a potent, dangerous combination that is tried and true. This is Mike Budenholzer's hallmark. every stop that he's ever had as a head coach, he doesn't even necessarily need superstar talent. He's had it, whenever he can get it. But what he always has is a team stocked with shooters that can spread the floor. Typically, the big man is one of those guys that can do it, because that whole dynamic plays really well when you can pull your center all the way out to the perimeter. But with the Suns here, you've got a team that is not afraid to shoot it. They're shooting it at a very high clip, and they're also rebounding the ball extremely well. I mean, Suns had 2 guys in double figures for rebounding last night,
Yeah.
and neither of them were the starting center, who
And
didn't even play.
Yeah, that's really impressive. By the way, you were talking about how the Suns are doing much better than they did this time last year, 11 games into this season. So I looked up where the Suns were at game 11 last year. That was November 15th last year. And they just improved to 5-6 after beating the Minnesota Timberwolves last year. So this is just a better basketball team in every possible way, including, the results in the win-loss column. They are winning basketball games, and they're winning basketball games against largely good teams. The Jazz, not so much last night, but that was a team last year that wasn't handling their business against even teams like that. There would be games you'd expect them to win. Things would get confusing in the fourth quarter, and then they would just fall apart, not be able to close games out. This year, they have that. And a lot of that, like you said, comes from the shooting. And the shooting, the reason why that's important is the spacing. Once you have the shooting going up, now you have your mid-range, assassins, your Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal. Like, these guys can now operate in space where you're not worried about being doubled, because you can't afford to leave shooters. And that gives them the space to get to the basket or shoot from the mid-range. And it gives the big guys space to operate down low as well. And we saw that from Plumlee last night.
So just want to give a shout out to the Suns rookies here. Oso Ighodaro plays 21 minutes last night. He shot 3 for 5 from field goal range, 12 rebounds in this game, 2 blocks, +8 on the plus-minus rating. Ryan Dunn, 20 minutes. He also shoots 3 for 5 from field goals, and he made each of his 2 3-pointers, 8 points on the night. Oso Ighodaro contributed 6 points. At this point, we're seeing other rookies start to be given more responsibility, and we're seeing other rookies put up, some bigger numbers on paper. And, whether or not Ryan Dunn actually wins Rookie of the Year, I mean, jury's out on that. I think he could still compete. It's probably not going to be something that he can realistically lock up when you've got, a guy like Zachary Reese-Shea, who dropped 30 recently. Stephon Castle's been
very promising.
He's been looking great. Stephon Castle on San Antonio's been doing some really big things lately. Even, in this game, you look at Kyle Filipowski. He had 18 points off 7 for 11 shooting. So, we may not necessarily have the number one best rookie out of this class, but huge shout out again just to James Jones in the front office. It's rare to see 2 rookies taken as far down in the draft as Ryan Dunn and Ighodaro were, that are just immediately contributing like this. And they're both able to come in and spend 20 minutes in a game last night where those minutes are meaningful. They're not just putting up zeros and getting their cardio in. They're doing things that are impacting the game, that are helping the Suns, become victorious.
And that's not to mention the defense from Dunn, by the way, which makes him such an easy plug and play for when Kevin Durant isn't out there. He's not going to give you Durant's offensive output, but he is going to give you high level defensive play, which does matter and does help the rest of the team. Baker's cocky hens with a couple of comments on the text line. He was kind of commiserating with me there. I had Lauri Markkanen to get 20 or more last night. He stopped just at 17. Baker's cocky hen said Tatum scored 25 in all but 2 games this year, and both of the times he didn't, I bet him. So there's that. And then he also says, I live bet Luka with 30 points last night and parlayed that with the Warriors money line. So that worked out in your favor as well. Good move there, Baker's cocky heads.
Definitely good move on Luka. And I was going to say, we deserve a nice little victory lap right now, Keon, while we can squeeze it in.
We've got a minute. Let's go.
We talked a little bit about what we were expecting out of that Warriors and Mavericks game yesterday, and I think we pretty much hit the nail on the head. We were thinking that the Warriors were ultimately going to win. They were not going to let Klay Thompson come back into their house and walk away victorious. They didn't let
Klay
that happen.
tried though.
He tried. He definitely tried.
6 of 12 from 3 at 22 points. He was pulling it.
But other than that, we said the stars are going to show up. This is Tuesday on TNT, primetime action. Luka Doncic finishes with 31 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and Steph Curry goes for 37 points, 9 assists, and 6 rebounds. So your point was don't forget about Curry, because this is the exact kind of game where Curry's
He plays his best right here in these moments.
Well, and to your point on that, I mean, the guy got 35 minutes last night. He averages like 27 minutes a game. So this was just
Kerr lets him play. If the game is big and it's going to matter and it's going to boost the team, Kerr lets him go. And he was doing his usual Steph Curry thing, shooting the ball from highly impractical locations on a basketball court, putting everybody to sleep. It's what he does.
So I did not have the foresight on Steph Curry. That was Keon's call. But if you happen to check out that 6 Point Play podcast that I put out, it's available on Apple and Spotify. I did recommend Luka Doncic for 30 plus on there.
And you said that on the show yesterday too, that Luka was going to probably be a little bit more selfish this game, just because him and Kyrie were kind of splitting things the way that things ended in their game before. I think Luka is like, all right, this is my team. I do have to take the reins here a little bit. So we'll talk more about that, but we'll get to the Suns again because they're back in action against the Sacramento Kings tonight. Yusuf Nurkic maybe might play, maybe might not play. How will that affect your bets? We'll talk about that here on Beat the Book on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
It's fall football on The Fanatic. Catch all the live game play-by-play. Monday night, Thursday night, and Sunday day and night NFL games. Plus the Saturday NCAA football game of the week. It's all right here on the Valley's home for football. 1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic. Brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365.
Direct savings and client focus, the cornerstones of the Diamond Dave philosophy.
Hi, I'm Diamond Dave Cantor. My team and I at Desert Wholesale Diamond can be your trusted friends with an inside scoop on the diamond world.
Just like they are to thousands of people around the world.
And just like we have been for over 34 years.
At Diamond Dave's, it's all about the diamonds and the savings, not paying for high-end retail locations or the overhead of a mall.
You stand to save big time with our by appointment professional office approach combined with direct importing.
When you choose Diamond Dave's, you choose huge savings, top quality, and excellent service. Call, email, or message us for an in-person appointment.
Or sit back and relax for free FedEx shipping anywhere in the USA.
Call Diamond Dave at 480-397-2450. That's 480-397-2450. Or follow him on Instagram at Diamond Dave Cantor. That's at Diamond Dave, Kantor.
Hey guys, Jeffrey O'Brien here. Did you know Harman Solar has gone super high tech? There's an amazing tool at harmansolar.com that'll give you an instant ballpark solar estimate using satellites from space. You just type in a little information, and within seconds, you'll have an idea of just how little money it takes to save big on that monthly electric bill. I did it, and within seconds, they measured my roof and calculated my savings. It's very impressive. Go to harmansolar.com and give it a try yourself. That's harmansolar.com.
Shop early, save big, all month long during Black Friday build-up at Lowe's. Right now, get select pre-lit artificial Christmas trees starting at just $59.98. Don't wait to save. Shop these deals today, in-store or online, because Lowe's knows deals. Discount taken at time of purchase while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Head coach Bobby Hurley and Sun Devil men's basketball are ready to join the Big 12 Conference. This season, the Sun Devils host conference foes Baylor, Iowa State, Arizona, TCU, and Houston, all at Desert Financial Arena.
And another steal ahead to Miller. And Miller reverses it up and in. And he's fouled. Holy moly.
Join the action and get your Sun Devil men's basketball tickets today by calling 480-727-0000 or go online to sundeviltickets.com.
Download our free sports app and stay up with all the latest sports news, scores, highlights, and more.
Or
stream us live anywhere
at 1580thefanatic.com.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic, Arizona's home for sports.
By the way, just putting out a little word of notice again, just in case you guys are out there listening. NFL Blitzer, Sir Drives a Lot. Sport Trade sent you an email so that you could get the money you won. Why don't you respond to the email so you can get the money you won? That's it. That's my PSA that I'm putting out there. You guys, it's $100 in Amazon bets. You were under the belief that you had to split that. You don't have to split that. Sir Drives a Lot gets $100. NFL Blitzer gets $100. And then the Sport Trade credits, if you want to, it's cash, actually. It's just cash sent to your account. If you want to, Sir Drives a Lot gets $50. NFL Blitzer gets $50. There is no reason to not respond to this email, guys. They are trying to give you the free money that you won. It's just free. All right, let's talk about the Suns. They're playing the Kings tonight. What's going down, Dylan?
So something to keep in mind with this one is the status of Bradley Beal. So Bradley Beal ended up leaving the game a little early last night. He checked out with a little over 7 minutes remaining in the game. He did not come back in. It was reported after the game that Beal is dealing with left calf tightness, and he's already dealing with an elbow issue and a knee issue. So unfortunately, there's not much updated news beyond that as to whether or not Beal is going to give it a go tonight. There are currently odds available for Beal on, I'm looking at FanDuel at least. You can, bet on his player props. So there seems to be some sort of an expectation that he might play, but it's also very possible that he, ends up getting pulled, last minute if he's going through warmups and, the calf just isn't feeling good.
Yeah, and he was saying that the knee injury might be the reason why, that you're overcompensating with the knee, and so then the calf gets tight on you. So that is a thing that has been known to happen. We'll see how it goes.
And, this is important to keep in mind because if Bradley Beal isn't playing, then this is going to impact how things are going to go for, the Suns, of course, but I'm looking more specifically at Devin Booker at that point. Beal still accounted for 24 points last night. And so if all of a sudden those 24 points are not there anymore, and Beal's been averaging, I think, around like 16 a game, roughly. So, there's going to be some more points to go around for some of the other players that are going to have to pick up the slack. Grayson Allen, I believe, would get the start in Beal's place. So that's someone that, might be worth looking at player props and betting on him for. But Devin Booker did just get 31 points last night. So right now his line is sitting at 28.5. If Beal were to get ruled out, I would imagine that line goes above 30. Potentially it could be 30.5 or 31.5. So if you're someone that thinks Devin Booker is going to have another 30-point performance, you can still catch that for over even money right now. It's paying plus 115 on FanDuel. So there's still some value to take advantage of there, because if you, wait to act on that and then, Beal is ruled out. So now you're thinking, oh, that's a better chance for Booker to score. Well, by the time you go back to make that bet, you're not going to get nearly as good of a price. So this would really be the time to try and decide, before that news comes out one way or the other. And let's just say Beal does play. Okay. That didn't stop Booker from getting over 30 last night.
Right. And he may still need over 30. So like I honestly, I think that there's going to be some shots that Beal takes normally that goes to Devin Booker, but some of those shots are going to go to other players too. So it's not like Devin Booker is going to go from scoring 30 points to scoring 50. He could, but it's not impossible. It's Devin Booker. We've seen him do stuff like that.
Man shot 55% from three.
Yeah.
Against Utah yesterday.
If he's rolling again tonight, like then there's no, I think the sky's the limit there. But I still think that the way that Budenholzer runs this offense, like a lot of this is the ball will be moving around and there's going to be more opportunities for Booker, but there'll be some opportunities for Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal and some of these other guys to maybe pick up the slack. And I think Ryan Dunn is somebody, that they trust enough to be able to play the game that way. By the way, Bradley Beal is attempting about 16 field goals a game so far this season. So, you have to think that those 16 get divided up between everybody else on the team. There's going to be more shots for Booker, but there's going to be more shots for other people.
Well, and one of the nice things about this matchup here is we have the benefit of seeing what a very recent game between these two teams looks like, because they just happened to play, a few days ago. So, I mean, if you want to break that box score down, Bradley Beal was the leading scorer for the Suns in that game. He had 28 points. So, you take that contribution away and the offense has to come, from somewhere. So someone's going to be able to benefit from that. The other thing that's going to be a bit different compared to the last game potentially is whether or not Yusuf Nurkic gets any playing time at all. So Nurkic got 15 minutes in that game against the Kings that we just played with them, but he left early because he rolled his ankle and now he's been out ever since dealing with a sore ankle. And this is important because if you're someone that might be looking on the other side to the Kings and thinking about which Kings players might do well and who's worth betting on, that's going to make life a lot easier for Domantas Sabonis if he's not having to, go up against someone who's, bigger than him, quite frankly, and Yusuf Nurkic. The Suns will still have a size with a guy like Mason Plumlee, but Sabonis, I have to imagine, won't struggle in a matchup against Mason Plumlee or Oso Ighodaro. And
probably not.
He did manage 20 points against the Suns, when they played the last time, and he might get a full 48 minutes with no Nurkic this time. So one bet that I do really like, if you're looking at Kings players, would actually be for Domantas Sabonis to score in this game. His line is sitting at 19.5. So you're getting almost an even money 1-to-1 payout if you're taking him to get 20 or more in this matchup. That seems like a pretty safe bet. DeMar DeRozan, he happened to have a pretty big game against us the last time we played. He went for 34 points. That's going to be another person to look at to potentially have another big game, especially if a guy like Beal isn't playing. Yes, we do have Ryan Dunn, who does bring good defense to the table, but Beal's been also playing pretty good defense so far this season.
Yeah.
So,
and there is a chance he could play. He was saying he was hopeful he'd get the chance to. Coach Bud was saying it just kind of depends on how he wakes up today, which we haven't gotten the update on that, obviously, and what the training staff thinks right before game time on allowing him to go. But it wasn't an injury that's so bad that he can't play, and then we know that from this far out.
So we'll just have to see how the Suns decide to leverage the injury report. And that's where, looking at this and trying to suggest, ways to bet it's tough. And a lot of it is just timing, because between now and when this game tips off, there's two very different versions of the Phoenix Suns we could end up getting. We could honestly have one where we're missing KD, Beal, and Nurkic, or we can get one where we're just missing KD.
Yeah.
So this is where, there's opportunity, but then at the same time, things could change, and all of a sudden, you're betting a certain way, counting on a certain player to be there or to not be there. And
Yusuf
then
Nurkic. What?
There you go.
Yeah,
exactly.
I might have had him in a parlay, and then he just didn't play.
Well, in that case, your line would just get voided, but then your payout goes down, and it doesn't feel the same at that point. So I feel your pain on that. Wanted to actually jump over to another game here, Keon. There's a couple of other pretty interesting games on the slate. The Los Angeles Clippers are playing the Houston Rockets tonight in Houston, and this one was pretty interesting to me, just because you're getting another instance of James Harden going back to a city that he really, really loves.
James Harden revenge games are real. Like the some guys, it's kind of a little overblown. It wasn't with Klay Thompson last night, but there's some guys I don't think they really care as much when they go back. James seems to really care.
Well, I'm pretty sure he has like a residence in Houston.
Yeah, he does. He lives there.
So
also his jersey's hung up in a strip club. I can't tell you which one. I don't know which one, but I remember reading the article that they retired his jersey. So do with that information what you will.
I think, I mean, there's certain conditions there where, when he goes back to Houston, on top of it being a revenge game, like he can go sleep in his own bed. Right. There's comfort built into this for him. When you look at like past games of James Harden going back to the Toyota Center and playing in Houston, he is chronically getting like over 20 points a game in those games. But there's been kind of an interesting difference in the dynamic this time around, in that this is going to be the first time that he's going to be able to go to Houston and play the Rockets with no superstar accompanying him. So if you look at the last couple of years where the Clippers have played the Rockets, or not necessarily the Clippers, but just James Harden in particular, the last time he got to play in Houston, he had Kawhi Leonard with him. Kawhi Leonard led the Clippers in scoring. The time before that, he had Joel Embiid with him. This is back when he was a member of the Sixers. Joel Embiid led that game in scoring. The time before that, Harden was on the Brooklyn Nets, and this was a time where the Nets had Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, but neither of them were playing very much for weird reasons that weren't necessarily medically related. And that one time where he got to go up against his old team without any other kind of dynamic superstar scorer with him, well, guess what? James Harden got the points. He scored 25 points.
Yeah, like where we were talking about, if Beal might not play, Booker might not necessarily get all of those shots because of Bud's system. That is not how things are going to be working in LA. If James Harden is by himself, James Harden has the green light to take all of those shots if he wants to, and he has been known to in the past.
Now, to some extent, I don't want to completely shortchange that team, because he does have Norman Powell with him. Norman Powell's coming off a 31-point game. Like, Norman Powell is a scorer. Like, don't get me wrong, but Norman Powell is not Joel Embiid. He's not Kawhi Leonard.
Not at his prime.
There's never been a point in Norman Powell's career where he was ever considered to be the greatest basketball player on the planet.
Or even in the top 5, even though Baker's Cocky Hens is saying Powell for most, Norman Powell is more of a superstar than Kawhi Leonard. Well, yeah, now, not Kawhi Leonard all time. Kawhi Leonard at his peak was the best player in the league at one point. That's why he won an NBA title in 2019 as the main guy with the Toronto Raptors. He says at least he should be, at least. Like, Norm Powell could be considered a really good basketball player. I don't know if Norm Powell's ever going to be like a top 15 guy.
Well, and look, I mean, obviously Norman Powell is playing better than Kawhi Leonard is right now, because Kawhi Leonard isn't even playing.
Yeah.
And Norman Powell has never in his entire career ever once been considered a superstar. And even though Kawhi Leonard has not played yet this season, I think he's still able to be considered a superstar, just given the resume that he has and what he's been able to accomplish.
I'm just, if I'm reading what you're saying charitably, I think you just mean because Kawhi is not playing.
Right.
Okay, fine. Yeah, he's more of that than Kawhi is when Kawhi's not playing. But if we're just going to talk about, all time, there is no universe in which Norm Powell is not only a bigger superstar than Kawhi, he's not a superstar at all. He's a really, really good player. Whatever that next tier is below that, yeah, I'd put him in there. I wouldn't put him in superstar tier, though.
Well, and what I'm getting at with this is that I think you could say to some extent that in those dynamics of, the Clippers in the past with Kawhi, the Sixers in the past with Joel Embiid, there's going to be some amount of politics there that are going to prevent James Harden from just going full James Harden, going all the way back to his Houston days and taking, close to 30 shots and like really trying to rock the scoring. Whereas on this Clippers team right now, there is no other alpha dog other than the head coach, Ty Lue, that could really have an issue with James Harden, like deciding to go full supernova and just, shooting out of his mind. If that's the kind of night he wants to have, he has full freedom to have that kind of a game against the Rockets in Houston tonight. I don't think he's going to shoot that many shots, but his line on scoring is low. I mean, it's 22.5.
And I think the reason why it's 22.5 is just based on what he's done lately. James Harden is averaging 18 points a game the month of November so far. And so you can look at some of his numbers recently and go, okay, maybe that's where the line is. But obviously, with all the other factors you just explained, there's a good chance that James Harden clears that 22, and it's probably not even close. Baker's cocky hands is still arguing about Norm Powell. First of all, he said this before you disagreed with him. Powell for most improved is a decent bet, except you got Jalen Johnson just taking over Atlanta, which, yeah, that's a whole thing unto itself. But that is a solid bet. But he goes pizza bet. Powell will be considered the better player this season and be more of a go-to than Kawhi. Powell has upped his game this season. And I will counter that with a conversation that Dylan and I had the other day. Norm Powell is a microwave player. When he's off, it's not good. He's ice cold. And then when he heats up, it's red hot. And I think he's been able to do that more times this season. But you're going to have to explain how it is that we grade this, because
I was going to say that's
pretty open-ended. That's not what do you mean considered more of a go-to? By whose standards would he be considered more of a go-to? How do we even, we can't pizza bet that, because there's no way to make that something that's not subjective.
Well, and I will totally take a pizza bet on this, but like there has to be some provision in here about like the possibility of Kawhi just flat out not playing this year.
Yeah.
Because, if that's like the result and we're comparing whatever Norman Powell does to a guy that hasn't played, then like that's
exactly what I mean. But also like in the fourth quarters of games that they both play in, who is keeping track of the times they went to Norm Powell? Is it just last shots, or is it the last set of shots? Is it what the NBA defines as crunch time, which is the last 2 minutes of a game? Or do you include the last 5 minutes of a game if they're down? Who's keeping track of this Baker's cocky hand? This is not a great bet, because there's not a whole lot of explanation of to how we're deciding who is the more go-to guy.
Like this just honestly boils down to whether or not Kawhi Leonard plays, because if he does work his way back to a point where he's on the court and he's on the court consistently,
they're not giving the ball to Norm Powell over Kawhi damn Leonard. There's
Norman
not a chance in hell.
Norman Powell will be the individual that suffers the most.
Yeah.
From Kawhi.
One reason why Norm Powell has been able to up his stats and up his numbers this season is there is a giant void in the offense named Kawhi Leonard, and he's not going to have to share those shots. I don't think that Ty Lue is going to bring Kawhi Leonard back and go, well, Norm Powell's been playing really well lately, Kawhi, so you're number 3. That's not how things work in the NBA, man. They just don't. But again, who's keeping track? How are we judging this? You have to explain that first, or I'm going to say no bet.
I think what we would have to do is we would have to wait for whichever day Kawhi Leonard is, decided to come back on. And then at that point, if we still want to do the pizza bet, like fine, it's on. Once he plays a game, it starts. If Kawhi Leonard like crashes and burns and the knees flare up and then all of a sudden he just like hardly has a season because he can't keep himself on the court, then, we lose that bet for sure. But if Kawhi Leonard just takes a very long time to get back to the court, but once he's there, he's back and he's him, I think we'd probably end up winning.
Yeah. Baker's cocky hands said, let's just go PRA. What does that mean?
That's points, rebounds, assists.
Points, rebounds, assists as more of a go-to guy. But that doesn't tell me he's a go-to guy.
No, and
because
again,
what if Powell gets more rebounds? Does that make him more of the go-to guy? Like that I don't think that really gives you a clear. When we're talking go-to, I was talking just points. I didn't realize we were also now counting rebounds and assists in all of this, because that changes from player to player and position to position. I don't know that we can do that. But he also says clearly Kawhi has to play some. Where is Powell's off game this season? I'm talking more about from quarter to quarter. We had a bet earlier this week where we put some money on Norm Powell to get, what was it?
30.
30. Norm Powell had 2 points in the first half. Then Norm Powell had an 18-point third quarter.
And he finished with 31.
Yeah. Like it's not that he has off games. I'm saying there's whole games where whole parts of a game where he vanishes. You know what Kawhi genuinely doesn't have a whole lot of usually? That. But he also says Kawhi's off games are worse than what I'm seeing stat-wise. But we're talking about this year. There is no off game for Kawhi. He hasn't played in any games. What are you going off of? Like, this is what I'm trying to tell you. This is not as cut and dry as you're trying to make it seem. It's just not. Anyway, we've got to go to a break. I do appreciate this. I need you to be 100% clear. And points, rebounds, assists does not tell me who's go-to. If a guy is scoring pretty well, but his rebound and assist numbers are lower, that doesn't make him less of a go-to player. It just doesn't. Anyway, we'll probably continue arguing this. We've got some picks on the other side for you so that you can hopefully make some money tonight as the NBA continues to roll on, and we've got the Suns on the second night of a back-to-back. This is Beat the Book right here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Head over to NFLshop.com today for the largest collection of officially licensed gear from all your favorite brands. NFL Shop is your ultimate destination for the official NFL sideline collection worn by players and coaches on game day. Explore the same sideline and on-field gear worn by your favorite players and coaches at NFL Shop. To shop now, go to NFLshop.com.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you can easily find coverage options that fit your budget. If only it was that easy to name your baby.
How about Jaden?
Nope.
Okay. Michael?
Went to middle school with a glue-eating Michael.
Sebastian?
Dated one in college.
How about Damien?
Vampire name.
All right. Greg?
Not feeling it.
Okay. No worries. No worries. Jeffrey?
Oh, love that one.
Wait, really?
No.
Find coverage options that fit your budget with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Sports betting apps are not created equal. Dylan Cohen from Beat the Book here to talk about the Sport Trade advantage. With higher payouts, Sport Trade is the ultimate sports betting experience. Sport Trade is the first sports betting app that gives you the option to see the odds expressed as probabilities, and it's changing in-game betting forever. If it's easier to understand 52% probability of winning versus minus 108 odds, then Sport Trade is for you. With this percent odds feature, cashing out now makes much more sense. As the win probability changes, so does the value of your bet. And if you're an experienced bettor and prefer American odds, you'll get pricing closer to minus 106 versus the normal minus 110, coupled with instant in-play betting. No more spinny wheels. So download Sport Trade today to see the difference and beat the book. Use promo code 1580 to earn 10% cash back on every bet you place in your first week. Terms apply.
Sport Trade is regulated by the Arizona Department of Gaming. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP.
1580 The Fanatic.
And at 1580thefanatic.com.
Your home for sports.
So I was thinking about it during the break. And the only way I would be willing to do this pizza bet is in games where Kawhi Leonard plays and Norm Powell plays, who scores the most points? Because that's your go-to guy. Who's the guy that scores the most? Why are we adding rebounds and assists to this? That does not make you more of a go-to player. Does Kawhi Leonard outscore Norm Powell in games they both play in?
I second that.
Just keep it that simple. You threw me off with the points, rebounds, assists. Because I don't see what rebounds and assists have to do with you being a go-to player. Like there are definitely games where Dennis Rodman was like just destroying a lot of people on that team in rebounds and assists, but wasn't scoring a whole lot of points. He wasn't the go-to guy. You know, you have guys that'll get those double doubles where it's like 10 or, 10 and 10. Okay, but you weren't a go-to guy if you scored 10 points. All right, he said accepted.
All right, there we go.
Accepted. There you go. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that then, because I just when Ty Lue gives Kawhi Leonard the green light to play, Norm Powell's not going to have more shots than him because Kawhi's the go-to guy.
I mean, that's the way that I see that playing out. I mean, maybe there's some weird scenario where
And there'll always be games where like Powell goes off. Like he is a good basketball player.
or maybe Kawhi's on like a minutes restriction or something at first, but I also feel like I've seen Ty Lue like violate those restrictions whenever
he understands what winning kind of looks like, and he just goes, okay, you know what, we've just got to win today. I don't really care if I said he's on a 20 minutes restriction. If we're losing and he needs to play 25 minutes for us to win, he's playing 25 minutes.
So maybe that's the way that goes down. We'll just have to see. Keon, while you were thinking about that during the break, I decided to do something that I have not done on this show before. We're gonna give it a shot, and we're gonna see how it goes. Normally, I would have a day of posts on that Beat the Book website where there would be 10 bets for you to go and take a look at, and just had a couple other commitments this morning. I was not able to get around to it. There is an episode of 6 Point Play available that does have NBA picks for tonight. But for anyone that's listening to us live right now, I went ahead and cooked up a very nice long shot parlay of the day. It's not quite as degenerate as the last couple of ones, but
the last couple have been really
taking some swings.
Yeah. Which that's what it's a long shot for a reason. It's a long shot for a reason.
And look, I mean, this one is still a long shot. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we're working with a payout here that's just a little bit over 121 to 1. But if anyone is looking to tail a bet that could absolutely hit tonight, here is what I put together. This is a 4-leg parlay, and each of these legs is going to be for an NBA basketball player to score 30 or more points. So we're going to keep this really simple. I call this the 30-point club.
Yeah, I hope you notice that I have my phone out right now. This is for the purposes of this specifically.
So here is who is going to be a part of the 30-point club tonight. Number 1, James Harden. And we just discussed this at length. I think he's getting a lot of shots up tonight in Houston. Number 2, Franz Wagner on the Orlando Magic. He scored over 30 points yesterday against the Hornets. They've got the Indiana Pacers in town tonight, who rank even worse than the Hornets do in terms of allowing opposing teams to score. So Franz Wagner is getting a lot of shots up with Paolo Banchero not playing for the Magic right now. Count on Franz to get at least 30 or more points. Next, you can take Karl Anthony Towns to score 30 or more points. This is actually something he's done in 3 out of his last 4 games. He did not get it last night, but he also took the fewest amount of shots that he's taken in the month of November last night, with Joel Embiid being his primary on-ball defender. So tonight he's got Nikola Vucevic on him on the Bulls. Definitely a much easier matchup for him to score against. So count on Cat to get 30 or more points. And then the final member of the 30-point club is going to be Anthony Edwards. The Timberwolves had a very surprising loss yesterday to the Portland Trail Blazers. And this is the second night of a back-to-back where they're just running back the same exact game. Both the teams didn't have to travel yesterday. Conditions are pretty equal there. Edwards had 37 points in his first game against the Trail Blazers, and then he just had 26 yesterday. It was a little bit of an off game. Definitely sure the Timberwolves are frustrated with that loss. They see themselves as a much better team than the Trail Blazers. So tonight is a get-right game for Minnesota. Look for Anthony Edwards to lead the charge. I think he can grab 30 points there pretty easily. So those 4 players again: James Harden, Franz Wagner, Karl Anthony Towns, and Anthony Edwards, all to score 30 or more points. Right now on FanDuel, that is paying about 123 to 1 on the payout. So $5 on that is going to get you about $616. So if I was, putting together that Beat the Book post for today, that would have been the long shot parlay of the day.
Well, there you go.
So there you go. You're not missing out on that. But I also went through each leg on there and just kind of explained my rationale. Those aren't shots in the dark. There's reasons why I'm picking each of those guys. And outside of that, if you're looking for some bets in our very own Phoenix Suns game tonight against the Kings, like I said before, I think this is going to be a game to back Devin Booker on scoring right now with points. It looks like there's maybe some news that came out about the Suns. Oh, is Devin Booker out? Oh, wait. Okay. No. Devin Booker is in. It looks like Yusuf Nurkic is in now, but the Kings are currently favored, looks like by 8 points. It's a pretty big point spread there.
That really is.
We haven't seen the Suns lose a game that badly yet this year. I think you could honestly take the Suns to cover that spread. It looks like Beal is still possible to play today. So we do have Nurkic back. If Beal is going to give it a go and we're just missing Durant, I don't see this being that far off. I don't see us losing by 3 possessions here.
So Bat Flipper on the text line says, are you sure about Karl Anthony Towns even on a back-to-back?
Yeah, because the back-to-backs don't mean as much right now at this point in the season. I mean, we're like 4 weeks in. Those back-to-backs, they really compound. So when you're, closer to All-Star break, you're after Christmas, that's where you can really start to consider, oh God, he just played last night. Is he really going to be able to give it a go? Plus, I mean, the Knicks were up by such a big margin in that game. I mean, Towns wasn't playing heavy minutes like into the fourth quarter. So I think he's going to be feeling pretty confident because he just got the best of Embiid for like once.
Yeah.
So he's going to be pretty juiced going tonight against an easier opponent at home.
And there you have it for us. Hope that handles that. Big Jake on the text line. You're a little late. We're out of time, but I appreciate the text, man. We'll talk about that more tomorrow and Thursday Night Football right here on Beat the Book on 1580 The Fanatic.